Can I begin now?
Sure.
All right.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Calling to order the Wednesday, August 27th, 2025 meeting of the Mount Lebanon Resiliency Board. Roll call, please.
So Eric Milliron.
Harold Tropin.
Linda Tobolewski.
Lynn Lindley.
John Vogel.
Chet Wade.
Greg Wharton.
Phil Lysius.
John Rumpled.
Grace Robb.
Elaine Ivasovich Lozana.
I think we have everybody here tonight.
We do. We have full house.
Excellent. First off, I think, and I was just going to ask Eric this, for the citizen comments, we want to maybe go through the updates and reports, then defer the comments to the end. If certain topics are brought up, we can address it then.
I'll defer to the chair. If
I'm asking your advice on that because.
I would just follow the agenda.
Okay. All right. Well, first off, I'll lead off with citizen comments. If someone like speak, just their name and address, so for the record. So, sir.
So to go up to the podium or stand here?
Yeah. Yeah, please, at the podium right by, that way,
Because that way they can capture.
out of respect for the residents and their comments, you're off camera, this has been.
Very good. Thank you. And good evening. My name is John Herman. I live at 225 Baywood Avenue in Mount Lebanon. I asked that there was.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yes.
What I'm gonna do is, normally, I don't know if we have, what is the time limit we have on comments?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. I just wanted to make sure about that.
Happy
So
to.
thank you.
Yeah, there's a.
I asked that the Resiliency Board consider recommending to the commissioners measures to limit the use of gasoline-powered leaf blowers in Mount Lebanon. Gas-powered leaf blowers are the most polluting and the loudest of commonly used yard equipment. And they're not just used in the autumn for leaves. Many homeowners and businesses use them each time they mow their lawns to clean grass clippings off their sidewalks. Gas leaf blowers are either backpack models or front use blowers. In the past decade, their use has fallen somewhat as electric leaf blowers, which use rechargeable batteries or cords, have rivaled them in power and price. There are now very good battery-powered leaf blowers selling for less than $175, which is less than many gas blowers cost. Limiting the use of gas-powered leaf blowers would promote Mount Lebanon's goals of livability, climate action, and carbon neutrality. How polluting are gas-powered leaf blowers? Most of these devices use a two-stroke engine in which the motor is lubricated by mixing oil into the gasoline. This makes the conversion of gasoline into power very inefficient. Much of the mixture is simply emitted into the air as hydrocarbons and fine particulate. Estimates are that using a gas-powered leaf blower for an hour emits the same amount of air pollution as driving from Pennsylvania to Florida. How loud are gas-powered leaf blowers? I can provide the board with data references, but here's a summary. First, you have to understand that decibels are measured in a logarithmic scale. So every 10 decibels more means 10 times the sound intensity, which our brains hear as about twice as loud. Electric leaf blowers average about 65 decibels. Gas lawnmowers average about 85 decibels. And gas leaf blowers range from 95 to 115 decibels. So the additional 10 or 20 decibels between gas mowers and gas blowers means that gas blowers can sound twice as loud or more. They can sound as loud as jackhammers. A study by the NIH found that gas leaf blowers exceed the World Health Organization's daytime sound health standard almost 3 football fields away. The study also found that gas leaf blowers are especially high in low frequency noise, which easily penetrates buildings and can cause people stress and hypertension. Ask any teacher what it's like to teach a class while a leaf blower operates in the area. I've only touched on the data. The case to end the use of gas blowers is compelling, and hundreds of cities and even entire states have taken steps to limit or end their use. What can Mount Lebanon do? Several things. It can end the use of gas leaf blowers on municipal property and the parks. It can work with the school district to end their use on school property. It can educate residents and perhaps offer a financial incentive of $50 or $100 to residents who replace their gas blowers with electric blowers. And most importantly, it can limit the use of gas blowers throughout the township to just the autumn months. We then phase them out entirely in 3 to 5 years. I have copies of my remarks for reference, which I can pass out. I can also provide the board with the reference materials that I consulted, the scientific studies on the air pollution, the noise pollution, and what hundreds of cities around the country have done. I can submit this to staff liaison and distribute them to the board. I work in a related field, and I would be happy to continue to provide input if that would be helpful to you all. Any questions at this time?
Are there any local ordinances that, in Western Pennsylvania, that have addressed this issue?
The closest one I found, and I didn't do an exhaustive search, is in Baltimore. The entire city and Montgomery County, which is a large county very similar to Allegheny, right outside of Washington, D.C., has taken these steps. But I didn't find anything in Western PA.
As far as, you were talking about the noise ordinance. I'm not grilling you saying, oh, this is why it's wrong. I'm just curious about that. In the ordinance in the, Mount Lebanon has a noise ordinance, I assume.
We do not.
No, you do not?
We do not have a noise ordinance.
And if we did, and some municipalities have performed this limitation with a noise ordinance, limiting it to 85 decibels or something.
Yeah.
The problem is it's very difficult for the municipal officers and the police to enforce that. They need to appear while it's still going on. They need to have the sound equipment to measure it. So it's a possible answer, but it's a difficult one.
Mr. Herman, did you sign in? Do we have,
No, I did not.
okay,
Just come see me afterwards.
yeah, I'd like to just make sure that Greg and I are the staff liaisons to this board,
Great.
just so that we have a manner to communicate.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Herman, in the other communities that you're aware of that did enact this eventually, did it begin with, like you said, incentives for replacement, with kind of positive enticement and incentives versus punitive? Or did they eventually get to punitive measures? How did they
Right,
sway?
and there are, as I said, hundreds of examples, and I think they've all done a different mixture of things. Those with some money to spend have given a financial incentive. It's hard to estimate what percentage of Mount Lebanon homeowners would take advantage of that, and therefore hard to know what the bill would be to Mount Lebanon. It could limit it to $5,000 or $10,000 a year instead of opening it up to everybody who might want to do it and have a cap. I think a lot of the municipalities have had a phase-out period to let people get the investment benefits of what they already own before they're forced to not use it anymore.
And as a follow-up to that, did any of the other cities work with landscape companies? There are, a high percentage of landscape companies
Right.
in Mount Lebanon that.
Right, and I think ordinances have gone different ways. Some totally exempt commercial blowers, which is a shame because these are often the loudest by far. One way that you can consider moving is to limit this to small lots. Let's say prohibit their use on lots less than an acre. At least then there is a greater distance between the people who may be bothered by them. For example, I live in an area with relatively small lots, and I am surrounded by these for pretty much 9 months a year. So if you limited the prohibition to areas of lots with an acre or less, at least the people would have more room before their neighbor was really impacting them. But that would be unfair to some people. They have to get rid of theirs and other people don't. So that's a mixed blessing. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, please make sure you see.
Thanks for our questions.
Thank you, sir.
I'm surprised we do not have a,
Yeah, but we don't. So-
Before certain times, like before 7 AM?
Well, we have an
Production?
ordinance, related to work that can be, so for construction work or for roofing or these types of things. But if somebody wants to blast Aerosmith, in their backyard at a cookout, and somebody doesn't care for Aerosmith or want to hear that and call the police, we don't have an ordinance that would compel them to turn it down.
interesting, well, let's see what materials they have and we can circulate food. I'm trying to think, as far as how it would come in, where do you see this fitting in our modules as far as?
Yeah, well, I think we'll certainly be taking Mr. Herman's comments into consideration and then it's sorting that out, yeah.
Okay, all right. Good, thank you.
Sounds like ecology.
Yeah, it sounds like local ecology, so. Good, interesting. All right, we'll see the materials and we'll see what we can do from there, okay? You're more than welcome to stay, or if you, is there anybody else who'd like to make comments?
Good evening. I'm Abby Lawler Morris, 226 Academy Avenue, Morgan, so like 138 St. Paul Road. And we're here to propose that Mount Lebanon adopt a plastic bag ban ordinance similar to the city of Pittsburgh.
Yes, so the whole ordinance would cover plastic bags. It would be three parts. So it would be a plastic bag ban similar to the city, a 15-cent fee, slightly different from the city, and then also a ban on extruded polystyrene food containers. So just like a little bit of background about me, we're both in Lebo Green. We put on Earth Day every year for 15 plus years. We do a sustainability speaker series around the municipality. We do a lot of education work within the municipality. About me in particular, we've also put on, been part of the Allegheny Cleanways Litter League. So I'm the Litter League captain for Mount Lebanon. So I have some lots of time picking up trash here and in other areas. I would say my top pollutants, including bags. I should say my top pollutants are not bags or styrofoam, but we'll get there. We do a lot of beverage containers, is what I see a lot of food wrappers and takeout drink containers, similar to over there, and Korea. That's what I see a lot of. But why are plastic bags and styrofoam getting kind of singled out here? Both of those, I do see them often, not in large quantities, but they really are pervasive to our environment. So styrofoam you've seen will break apart easily. Trying to pick that up can take minutes, just sitting there trying to pick up all the tiny pieces. Plastic bags blow in the breeze. We've all seen what used to be known as the Pittsburgh flag, the blue bag in a tree just floating around. Not as much anymore. They shred, and they also shred and they put more plastic in the environment. Plastic doesn't break down, not like natural products. It will break down into microplastics. If you haven't seen the recent news on this, we've found microplastics in every single waterway in Pennsylvania. We don't know what microplastics will do to your health. We anticipate it's not good. Recent studies on the brain have found the equivalent amount of plastics in your brain to be 4.5 bottle caps, water bottle caps, like the straw has in there. People with dementia have more plastic in their brain than people without. There could be some serious health effects. There's a lot more to study on this, but that's why we should take actions now, the ones we can, the ones that have easy alternatives. Plastic shopping bags are used for about 12 minutes, and there's options out there with reusable bags, a lot of them paper bags. which would be an acceptable alternative with this ordinance. It would be acceptable, wouldn't have the health risks associated with plastic. Styrofoam containers also have other paper-based options out there that could be used. They don't have the health effects of styrene, which is a known carcinogenic. So it would be a focus of the ordinance. Do you have anything else to add, Wald?
I did meet with Zach Delaney, who's now tasked with the enforcement of it and for the city of Pittsburgh, to find out how it's going now that they've been they're like a year in. And they just started in 2025 to actually enforce it. They gave everyone kind of a year to comply. I know some business said they stockpile bags anyways for a year or so. So they now have, and I've seen some that aren't complying. I work downtown and some of the businesses, so I was curious at how it's going because I've seen businesses that are still using plastic bags. But out of the reports they get that people have reported, there's 262. They have 43 active violations right now that they're working on getting in compliance. But that's out of over 2,000 businesses. So they're so far it's pretty successful in terms of just businesses catching on to this. And they do have the fees are, it's $100. They get a warning and then it's $100 the first time that they are in violation, $150 after, and then they get fined every day. Similar to that during COVID when restaurants were staying open, we're getting fined every day. So they, I was happy to hear how well it was going. I think here it might be even easier because we have a lot less businesses to actually try to get on board. They did public comments as we would and get comments from the public. Penn Environment also,
Yes, I already reached out to Penn Environment to get some feedback on some of the parts of the ordinance. We've drafted up an ordinance, we've provided it to Mr. Wade, it's also on our website. Yeah, it's also provided on our website for you to review, a lot more basis behind all the choices that we can't get to in 5 minutes.
And they have resources and actually have someone locally that would actually be willing to come and speak.
We're also online talking to John Bromwich, who's the manager, is the owner of Eden's Market. He also has worked with other organizations and would be willing to assist the municipality. Us in Lebo Green in particular would like to, if you go forward with this, volunteer to survey businesses, figure out where they are, what their opinion is on this, how quickly they could get through their plastic stock, so we can make some changes to the ordinance to adjust to the unique features of Mount Lebanon. Also deal with education of the public and things such as that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Morgan emailed me, thank you very much for that. And they clearly have done a huge amount of homework because they have a very detailed ordinance, a lot of supporting documents. I've emailed it to Eric, and Eric, if you would just fan it out to the rest of the board.
Absolutely.
I would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've done a lot of homework on it, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, to add very briefly, so I lived in other places, and I think all of them have passed about a decade ago, including Seattle, King County, Washington. So it feels like we're about 10 years behind in this particular.
John had his hand raised and I allowed him to speak, so if he has anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say hello and that I'm in full support of this. Obviously, they mentioned me. About 10 days ago, I wrapped up a campaign in my my town that I lived in before, where the city council there unanimously passed an ordinance banning all plastic bags and any single-use plastic in restaurants. So that's the utensils, that's everything. My final task, besides submitting a report to the city, was going to all the retail businesses, not the restaurants, but I did the retail side. And I'd say out of the 685 businesses, only 170 were using bags. And out of those, now that they had about a 6-month grace period from when it took effect from January to July 1st to make the transition. And most did it. I'd say 3/4 of the businesses did. 2 didn't seem to care. And, there are a few that didn't get the memo basically, but they were able to pull the trigger. So it was a little bit easier than it might seem daunting, but if you just do your research and just talk to the businesses, they all seem pretty flexible. Like this day and age, plastic bags should be a thing of the past, period. It's just silly to have them, and it clogs up our waterways, and the health issues they brought up are, there are a lot more studies being released now about it. So whatever I can do to help Mount Lebanon see this through, I'm 100% on board for.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
If you mind, if John can answer the question or speakers, I know, for example, if you go to Coons, they will give you a paper bag, but I think that's how it works. They charge for it. Do you have the ability to get plastic bags? It's almost like an auction.
Well, not the Coons on Banksville, because that's in the city.
Okay, they don't do that.
So they would have paper, and they would be charging 10 cents for
Okay,
those.
that's what
But
those-
here we proposed 15 cents, because
That's
since
more in line with inflation, because the 10 cent was developed in the early 2010s.
What did you tell me you thought the current cost of a bag for retailers now?
One I found was 25 cents when I looked, or like 25 to 20 cents, looked online, but that was just a Google search. Did you find anything
It
else?
did not.
Okay.
But I think the estimates might have been lower than that, if you buy
Okay.
it,
In bulk, yeah.
Yeah.
It might even be lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few businesses that already use paper bags. Poyola comes to mind, and Totopo. So they might have some insight too, and yeah, if we go and ask them what their cost is.
John's got his hand up here.
Yeah, so I've got a list of national distributors and their pricing from when we did it. So that might be kind of a good guidance as well. And we're finding that the cost of a paper bag is less than the plastic. So when you approach the businesses with a dollars and cents approach, as opposed to plastic bags are bad, then they actually start to listen. And when you crunch the numbers in front of them, they're like, oh, this is better. So I think that's a good approach to take too. But if you need figures for costs and stuff like that, I can get that to you.
And also you're talking not only about plastic bags, but also utensils, plastic utensils.
Ours
the
did not, because
clamshell.
we didn't want to do a large jump from
Okay.
the city. So we want to make kind of a smooth transition there. Polystyrene to me is a human health concern, and therefore jumped.
So just
that.
bags and then styrofoam
Yeah.
containers is what we were proposing.
All right, then. Thank you. We'll look forward to looking
Thank
over the information, so, thanks. Being no other comments, obviously you're welcome to stay. We have the citizen comments.
We need to do the minutes.
Minutes, I'm sorry. I always skip that. So. We've had a chance to review the minutes. Any questions or comments? Will someone make a motion to approve the minutes? Grace, second? I guess that means a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next now is commission liaison report.
Yeah, Commissioner Siegler is out of town on business. So that's his report.
Okay, and we will have your reports later on. Next, the Economic Business District Committee.
No report from us.
Okay. The Historic Preservation Committee update.
Well, we didn't actually meet this month. We did try to get something to Eric in terms of our work plan outline, which is basically coming down to organizing all the data around our district and trying to get a handle on it, because I went to the state and found that we have even more contributing members than we thought we did. So,
Good thing, right? I guess.
we're working on that. So we have our work cut out for us this year.
Okay. Sustainability and Local Ecology Committee.
Yes, we have a presentation for tonight.
Please.
Greg's gonna bring that up for us, thank you.
Okay.
We, at our last meeting, we spoke briefly about something we call Hidden Hollow Nature Restoration Project. We wanted to update the rest of the board a little bit more after we had a field visit. Had a great experience. You guys didn't get Lyme, did you? I hope.
No ticks.
No ticks, we were very careful. But we think this is an interesting, very interesting opportunity. First, we want to credit Eric for bringing this to us. I mean, we, members of the subcommittee, can't take credit for the project. Also want to credit, give a huge shout out to Elaine Kramer and Ron Block from the Mount Lebanon Nature Conservancy, who have put a lot of work into this project, provided, and we'll be presenting some of their materials today. They do great work. So, we can't take credit. We just want to help try to move it forward is our goal. So, go ahead, please. Okay, so this does, we believe, fit within our charge under local ecology. Part of it's to implement a forest management and stewardship plan for the municipality. This is on municipal property. And also, one of our goals is to look at installing a tiny forest as a pilot. There's a different site that was initially called out, and we may look at that later, but this kind of gives us a pilot for the pilot, if you want to go that way. But we think there's a great opportunity here because the municipality has the land already. It is not being used to its best use, which we think is to return it back to nature. And so we'd like to move forward with this. So, and you can see Eric's credit, that was sunset at Hidden Hollow, and that's a credit to Eric.
It was, and just real quick, Chet, right before the meeting, I sent a link that gives some additional information to the tiny forest concept. It's called it's a Japanese expression, so I'm not going to get into that right now, but that'll just give you some more background about that concept and how that can play into this. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
It's a concept, and like I said, we may move forward with other ones like that, but this allows us to get our roots in the ground.
Ooh, good one.
All right. So the location of Hidden Hollow, it adjoins, adjacent to the golf course property. I think most of us know where the golf course is, so this gives you a Google map kind of look at it. You can see where the course is. There's the clubhouse, if you know the course, the fairway 7 and it comes out to 6. I think those are the right numbers. I spent enough time on it today. But anyway, there's the community gardens also adjacent to this. What's important is that none of this would impact the golf course or the community gardens. And in fact, there maybe is an option even to expand the gardens. That's not part of our proposal. But key thing is it doesn't change anything that goes on at either of those places. I know there's concern about that. But what we believe this land was cleared, at one point perhaps for farming back in the day before the golf course was built, which now goes back quite a ways. But it is township property right on the border with Castle Shannon. Like those street names there are all actually in Castle Shannon. Right up to the backyards is where that area is. So it's about, my guess is about 10 acres, give or take, is what the size of the area is. Okay, next one, please. This is what it looks like. This was our field visit. You can see a lot of it is open, and in fact, we understand that the township, either the golf course people or the township, somebody comes in and actually kind of mows down the open areas a couple of times a year. There are some large trees, and in fact, Elaine called this the mother oak there, that one on the right, big, beautiful oak tree. So it looks a little flat, but as you'll see later on, it really does go down into a hollow, a pretty deep ravine. There's a little stream bed there, we'll show you in a second. You can see the one on the left takes you out, that's the general direction towards the golf course, or towards the 7th fairway. The right, I took that picture, it's hard to see, but there are wetlands on the property, and what you see there, those are cattails. That's why I took the picture there. So there is an area for riparian work, some wetland restoration and protection. We all know how valuable wetlands are in terms of filtering pollutants, et cetera. So it's a very interesting kind of biology, ecology area. Okay, next one, please. So there we are on the right. We were out there trooping. You can see Elaine's arms up high, trying to avoid the bugs. And in fact, the other Elaine warned us that we should immediately go home and throw all of our clothes in the washing machine and get a shower.
A lot of poison ivy there.
Yeah, a lot of poison ivy, a lot of nasty stuff.
And hemlock.
But you can see on the left side, as you get down into the hollow itself, it's pretty well wooded already. That's actually, it's hard to see, but it goes up against the property line there. There's some homes back in there. So it's a really varied, but pretty steeply hilled down into the ravine, into the hollow, as we call it, area. This is what Elaine and Ron brought to us. Elaine was able to join us that day, Ron was not. But they have a concept plan that would include reforestation in certain areas. Some riparian work in different areas. Like I say, there's a little stream bed that runs down there. I think you can maybe see it on the right side in the little blue line there. Some reforesting, and then what they call food forest areas, which I found was a really interesting concept. So you go to the next one, please. So what's a food forest? So this comes from the Project Food Forest folks, their website. And it's really this idea that you build an ecosystem that's designed to, it kind of builds in layers, creates the kinds of different foods that different kinds of wildlife or different kinds of animals and so you can see they've already kind of to kind of route this out, figuring out how this might be rebuilt into an area that would really help promote biodiversity. And so that's what a food forest looks like, from a kind of a concept idea. So next slide, please.
And while we were there, just to add to it, we saw monarch butterflies that were already, that were flittering about. I mean, certainly there's deer, which, I'm not going to go too deep into that, but there's a lot of we saw Baltimore orioles, which are becoming endangered. So a lot of birds. So so when you're saying food forest, it's not that you're going to have people there plucking apples and plums and rutabagas. It's really, as Chet said, it's really for the wildlife, and it's not. And just so for anybody watching at home, it's not about, we're not looking to feed necessarily rats and things like this. It's really about, the avian wildlife and things of that nature. And yes, there's some other wildlife there that takes advantage of it. But there's just a real opportunity there to encourage what's already exists and is endangered and threatened. And this would give them a food source.
I'm not going to ask you, I'll have this sent around to you, so I won't ask you to read it, but what I wanted to show it for was that Elaine and Ron have done a lot of work in just what might go in there. Some of it is in the riparian area, helping to prevent more erosion, to help some of the wildlife in that area. Some of it is the food forest. They've really spent a lot of time and work figuring out what might go into this location. And kind of bring it back to the state that it was probably before they came in and started farming on it. Yes?
Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the ideas is to minimize maintenance, that you're working with the nature instead of against the nature,
Well, and
right?
we'll get to that.
Nice.
Yeah. So in fact, that's on the benefits list. So obviously we get tree canopy, more biodiversity, which is good, and support the local wildlife, reduce stormwater runoff. Ultimately, we're not proposing this. Our goal is the restoration. There are obviously, ways you can increase access to people, but that, we don't want anybody to think this is going to be a stampede in there. It's really, the first goal is to restore this community. But those are quick benefits. But what I wanted to make clear, next one, please.
And also, a lot of those touch on comprehensive plan call-outs. So in tree canopy, I believe, is the first.
In our group, in our listing, that's the number one job.
That's the number one
How to improve the management of the tree canopy.
Stormwater runoff, a lot of these
Stormwater's
really.
in there. That's why we were enthused about it, in part because it does fit right into what we were charged with doing. But I wanted to reinforce this idea because I think there will be concerns about some course if misinformation gets out there. No impact on the golf course. This is not golf. If you hit your ball into this, you are not getting it back. As John and I found, because he and I picked up like a dozen while we were there. But you're not going to go in there and go try to play golf. There's no purpose for the golf course. It doesn't affect the community gardens. This is off to the side of the community gardens. We think in terms of reduced maintenance, we'll reduce work for the staff because they're not going to be having to come in there and mow this every so often. So we think there's less work, and that of course means less pollution, they're not running their equipment. There's some great volunteer opportunities, and we're so blessed in Mount Lebanon to have all these volunteers, but with the planting, with ultimately building bird and, I'm sorry, not bat, but typo. Bat houses.
That's very Scandinavian.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I love it.
These are the kinds
Jump in
of,
the pond.
some of these are like, Boy Scout, projects where they can come in and build bridges or footbridges, or if they're needed, or, the bird and the bat houses, those kind of things. So there's a lot of volunteer opportunities in there. So it does reduce, to Kirill's point, less work less maintenance for the township staff, whether the golf course or the township staff, but just huge benefits. So, next slide. Funding and construction, as Eric has pointed out, and leave it to him, there are multiple grant opportunities here. There are lots of ways this can be funded. It's not, we don't think, going to be a huge expense for the township. And we think because there's so much volunteer labor being provided either through the Conservancy, through Levo Green, through lots of groups around, Boy Scouts, et cetera, we don't think there's going to be a huge budget for labor. And once it's built, it's not going to be a huge budget for maintenance. So next.
And I'll just say with the grant, there are a number of grant opportunities, but one that's particularly of interest is the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy has a specific grant. The window is open until 2027 to reforest and encourage riparian zones. And this is that, as Chet alluded to, there's cattails there. Nature's already kind of doing its thing. What we're looking to do is just help it along. But there is this grant opportunity to put in trees and as well as other vegetation that thrives in that kind of an area. So that one is particularly one that I think we can target and have some success with should this advance.
Okay, next slide. This is just some questions before I get to what we'll be asking you to do in a month.
A question, and Eric might be in a better position to answer. Who knows about this right now? You know, when you think about the Eagle Scout projects and all of that, you think about Bird Park. And, you know, every student in the school here, but, you know, everyone's been there. And I think in the last meeting we were talking about it was sort of a place of respite. You might go and sit and read a book. I mean, I didn't know anything about it until last month when you showed it to us. Is it sort of cordoned off and people think it's, or is it inviting in some way, or?
It's inviting visually.
Elaine will tell you it is not inviting.
No, I mean, there is.
Earlier in the season.
Earlier in the season, you could probably walk around. I would not encourage anyone in this room unless they have appropriate clothing and bug DEET. I mean, it's high grasses now. It's not the kind of thing that you would just meander around in. But and a lot of what's being potentially proposed, I mean, there's various visions, and as this develops, if it develops, there'll be more public input and more consideration of what it becomes. I mean, candidly, for what it's worth, my interest in it is tree canopy expansion and allowing it to be just what it is and not really creating an active space, more of a passive space, but something that could be engaged in. And Elaine and Ron's plan provide that, again, with low maintenance and things of that nature. But right now, nobody thinks about it because there's no reason to think about it. And the only reason that I thought about it is because when I was there, I was looking out and I'm like, this is a huge wasted opportunity. And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, we have to expand tree canopy in Mount Lebanon. Where the heck are we going to do it? And all of a sudden, I'm staring at the answer. So so that's that. It's nobody in their right mind is going to go there tonight and just walk around. And if they do, they're going to end up with ticks, poison ivy, and
Or in a gopher hole.
or in a gopher hole. Yeah, I mean, it is not the kind of thing. Anybody watching at home, I would not encourage you to walk around like we did, because you could break your femur. I mean, there are very deep holes. It's not just for anyone to walk around at this current time. But with some thought and attention, there could be some what I would call meditative paths or passive experience with the natural scape that's there.
It's just an opportunity. You know, as I say, I play golf there. I didn't think about it when I was there. I think, you know, Elaine, you garden there. I'm not sure how much you ever thought about it.
Yeah, I don't like it, but that's, you know, wouldn't have been a reason to change it. I just always thought this is a strange kind of under-imagined space.
A question I have is, again, you know, given the somewhat friendly reception you've had from being at the golf course, not to say that drives it, but how do we anticipate or plan around that, or?
Well, I think Chet's going to talk about maybe some next steps, but I mean, clearly so Linda didn't ask this question, but she's like, who knows about this? Not a lot of folks. I mean, really, anybody watching at home, and those in this room, and anybody you may have spoken to about it, or about the audience that is aware of this concept. So, you know, I have not engaged with other staff or departments because, you know, I'm not gonna go there if there's not there to go there with. If this advances, you know, clearly there's gonna have to be engagement, and should be engagement, or will be engagement with some of those other parties to make sure we're all on the same page and there's a comfort level with things of that nature. But
Our committee has offered to go with Eric, you know, to do the stakeholder outreach, because there clearly are stakeholders that need to be briefed on this, because there can, you know, quickly be pretty big misconceptions about what it is and isn't. You know, again, because, you know, people ask if I golf, it's a matter of opinion, but I do pay my greens fees. And so I can understand, you know, knowing the people who play golf, they might be concerned, oh, is this gonna impinge on the course? Absolutely not. It will make it look nicer as you're walking around some of the fairways. It would make it less likely anyone would ever want to develop the golf course, which is, I guess, an every decade concern. Because if the township has this, you know, this nature area right here, we're not going to want to put things right on it. So it's not going to be a huge traffic thing. You know, that's, you know, if I'm, you know, now the street there is Castle Shannon, but it's right around a school, so we're going to be very concerned about not wanting to have lots of extra traffic around the school there. But it won't draw huge amounts of traffic. It won't draw huge amounts of construction traffic even. You know, this is not that kind of a project. The community gardens, again, will not impinge on them. You know, there's no plan to have any effect on them at all, other than perhaps giving them more pollinators for their gardens. But yeah, so it's important for people to understand that this is really not, you know, what it would be about. It won't affect the residents of Castle Shannon in any adverse way. You know, right now, there's a fence up against, a chain link fence against the private properties in Castle Shannon and this property, the township property.
it's a benign use, and it's kind of happening already, and as you know, it was kind of said before, is we're just helping it along. I mean, it's already, I mean, we saw that mother tree there at Oak, which is probably 100 years old. But there are other trees that have seeded and have grown and have been left alone. All that this is doing is helping along some of that, and then being more intentional with the plantings that are there. So it's not just poison hemlock and things like that. So we're adding to the biodiversity of the site. And I keep going back to the word passive, because I don't want people to get the notion that this is creating another sort of bird park or main park circumstance. This is really about tree canopy expansion and biodiversity and stormwater retention, which are all in the charge of the resiliency chapter. So, you know, because there could be some counterpoint to the idea of bringing more people there, because there's limited parking for the course and things like that.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not as if there's going to be, you know, the Chet Wade Memorial Trail, or, you know, the
Memorial could be sooner than later.
Well, no, Memorial may not be the word, but you know, the Linda Tobolewski, you know, overlook or something. You know, we're not like trying to draw people to it in that respect. Again, it's about forest expansion, biodiversity, and stormwater capture. It's not about creating. Trails can be a part of it, yes, but again, passive, not active.
Yeah, I wouldn't look this to be like Bird Park, where, you know.
It's not a park.
Next, there'll be, you know, big traffic signals in because of the pass, you know. It's not going to be that kind of place. It's really a restoration. I mean, you could, in theory, I guess, just not stop mowing, let it take, nature take its course, but it would be well beyond our lifespans. And you might not get the stuff you actually want to grow there because of some of the stuff that has sprung up there. You know, this is an opportunity to actually put in the kinds of trees and plants and things that had nature been allowed to take its course 100 years ago, would be there, but they got moved out. And so this is allowing us to kind of jumpstart that to bring it back.
Well, and it gets leveled once a year.
Right.
Or more.
Well, yeah, they come in and mow it at least a couple of times, as I
Yeah,
understand it.
so that's actually controlling, for better or worse, what's there anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, inhibiting, retarding the restoration process as it is. But when we would come back in a month, and this is, as you've seen our pattern, we like to show you 1 month and then come back in a month, let you think about it, you know, get more questions, is we think the commissioners and the administration, Eric's bosses, should authorize staff, meaning Eric, and anybody else he lists, to pursue the project, meaning coordinate with the Resiliency Board and specifically our committee, our subcommittee, the Conservancy, the Nature Conservancy, because they've done so much legwork on this, and others, and this can include, citizens, all citizens, the golf course folks, whoever we need to talk to there. Public Works is going to want to know, what does this mean to us? There's a Public Works facility just on the other side of Pine Street, or I think it's Pine Street. Others need to be informed, and we're more than happy to sit down with them and talk to them and make them understand, help them understand what it is and what it isn't. Have Eric develop a budget, and start to pursue the grants. That's why we wanted to move forward now, because, grant money and grant deadlines don't last forever. So, the sooner we can help him move forward, the better.
Right, and again, there will be more engagement. So once we have, you have a month to review this again, and I do encourage you to go up there. I wouldn't encourage you to maybe walk around, but I would encourage you to go visit the community gardens and just take a look if you haven't been there, because there is a difference between looking at it in these pictures. And I think the pictures, Chet did a great job capturing the vibe. But it doesn't replace being there. I mean, you can look at pictures of Rome, but it's different when you're there, right? So, I would go there, not to compare this to Rome, but if you were to go there, so I would encourage you to go up to the golf course and park in the lower lot. There are some mowed areas that will take you to the community gardens, and you can just look around and get a feel. And if you have any questions, the subcommittee and myself is available to address those.
Chatelaine, do you recommend it from your subcommittee?
Pardon me?
Do you recommend it from your subcommittee?
We do. We just will bring you a formal language in a month. Like I say, we'd like to let you think about this. We don't like to spring stuff on you and say, hey.
Right, and I would like to start talking. I mean, I think I'm the type of person, and I think many in the room are too, we like to be prepared. And we like, so before I, have a conversation with other folks and open up a dialogue, I want to make sure that there's interest to have that dialogue.
Yeah, and like I said, we're happy to help Eric in terms of that outreach. I think once people, fully appreciate it, I don't think there's a huge reason to be concerned about it. I think it's only benefits, only upside.
And we do need to hear those other sides, because there may be some things that we just don't know yet, but that's where the dialogue comes in.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Looks like a very good direction.
We can't take a lot of credit. We just trooped through the fields.
You live to tell the story.
We did. It was a bonding kind.
It was fun.
Team building.
Great. Staff liaison reports.
I'll just be brief, and I'll try to lump in some new business if it's okay with the chair, just for expediency. So I'll just kind of lump in my report with the new business. There's a couple of items there. So actually, I'm going to just start picking off new business stuff. The one thing I want to make sure everybody in this room is aware of, we're going to be having an open house about the active transportation plan. It's the kickoff. There will be other public engagement opportunities. But this Thursday at 6 p.m. Will be the first open house. So this is a collaboration with Dormont and Mount Lebanon. The consultants will be here. They're spending 2 days here. All day Thursday and all day Friday. They're doing a vehicular tour as well as walking tours. So they're going to be looking at the communities in a number of different ways and also hearing from residents. So if you're interested in participating in that first open house this Thursday, is that first opportunity to go.
That's here, Eric?
I believe it's in conference room C. If it's not in C, it's in the commission chambers, but I'm pretty sure it's in C. It's in the commission. Yeah, but it's here. So yeah, so I believe I sent the flyer.
Yes.
Okay, so read the flyer. But it should be here, and it's come as you are, come as you can. It's if you can't make it till 7, that's great. If you can't make it, so that's that. I just wanted to make sure that was pinned for everyone. We're going to have a new student liaison who is from Shadyside Academy, a Mount Lebanon resident. This is our second student, and our second student that does not go to Mount Lebanon High School, but is a resident. So that's fine. I'll be sharing more information about him as he will be attending in October. So that's the way it's sort of, I don't know why, but I'd probably let him get started with school. And get sorted and settled, and then he can start doing this stuff. So he'll be invited to the October meeting. Speaking of meetings, so next month is, we need to cancel or discuss moving because the commission is moving their Tuesday meeting to tonight, to a Wednesday. So I don't know if we want to have that discussion now on deciding what we do. But, you know, canceling is always an option. Or we can discuss other dates that week. Technically, I think we're supposed to toggle to the Thursday after if we do something like this, but rules are meant to be broken. So, you know, I'll just leave that on the floor for discussion. What folks are inclined to want to do with that, because we have to advertise. If we do reschedule it, obviously it has to be advertised and all of those things.
Eric, it
Yeah.
is conference room C for the open house.
Thank you. Conference room C for the open house.
Throwing other dates out there, I'm just throw it out there, the 25th of September, the Thursday.
I can
Okay, with everybody?
I can't make that, but that's all right.
We have two that can.
Yeah,
I need to double check for open house for school.
Well, you don't need an answer right now, but this, think about it. We can do an e-vote or something like that and get it sorted.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Is that fine? So we're not, you know, I don't want to take everybody's,
22nd's out, 23rd's.
but we're definitely not meeting on our normal time next month. So we're either not meeting or we're meeting at a different time. So I just wanted to lay that out. And then you know, in terms of a staff report, you know, it's going to be pretty, I'm going to be very quick. We're in the middle of budget, so we're doing a lot of budget hearings. Greg's super involved in that with the CIP and things of that nature. So related to Activate Uptown, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. If I didn't, I'm going to say it again, or at least. So as was mentioned numerous times, you know, it's a phased project. It's, you know, it was a very large number, as you know. We have a lot of competing interests, a lot of things. So in the CIP, which is public, it's phased over a number of years up to about, I think, 2028, 2027, 2029.
No, we're in 2030 now.
Yeah, 2030. So it's phased, but for next year, I'm already going to be acquiring some street furniture for Clearview because we have some dollars that are rollovers from the Vibrant Uptown project. So I can already start implementing some of the phases, like right now. I'm already in the process of working with Pashik on some Adirondack-style chairs and whatnot for Clearview Common. The big ticket items that I put in for next year would be improvements to the Clock Tower Plaza area and the portal. So just a real quick refresh, that would be sunshades in the Clock Tower area, some public art opportunities, the artistic sort of virtual mural stuff with gobo light projectors, improvements to the stairwell, the runnel for bikes to easier access up and down to the T station, things of that nature. So that would be the short-term budgeted items that I'll be, you know, the commission will be vetting throughout through the budget process. So there's just been a lot of budget stuff, and then my boring day-to-day admin stuff, which I'm not going to bore you with. So that's that. Does anybody have any questions about anything else related to the business districts? Okay, because what I wanted to do, because we're almost at 7. So I asked everybody, the chairs, or folks that I consider to be chairs, or at least people I made an executive decision, I made a chair, to send me what your work plan items. So what I did is, and you should all have a packet, I essentially just slapped this into a Word document. So you'll see the first page just has the members, commission liaison, all that kind of stuff, who's on the various subcommittees, and then it goes into the plan, and it's broken into 3 subcommittees. So I'm not going to run through this, but you can take a look at it. What I want to leave you with is this is just the start. So please take a look at what I put here and make sure it captures what your committees are working on. if there's some language you want me to change or what have you, just let me know and that'll be done. But what I'd like to do is take this sort of static document and turn it not into a Gantt chart or something. I'm not gonna get that crazy. But more of a working document that'll track things and things of that nature. I think it'll make it easier for the committees, and it'll also make it easier when we do our annual report, rather than just pull it out of the ether or, pull our hairs out and try to figure out what it, we'll just know, and the annual report will just be a thing that comes out of the work plan. And the work plan is a live, living document. So as projects come, they go on, and as things go off, they go off. So, and I'll be, Greg and I will, be monitoring that from a staff perspective as well, working obviously with the board. And that's the way I think it ought to be. I mean, there are projects that will gain traction, like maybe it's Hidden Hollow, and that becomes something that then morphs into different work plan action items. And there may be some things that just are not doable, or we get answers on that there are no, or whatever the case may be. So, live document, look at it. Send me any edits that you want, and then when we meet next, or over the course of the next month or so, I'm gonna try to morph this into some other kind of thing that is kind of tracking and more information, a little more detail, like what is Hidden Hollow? This is just listing it out. That's all I have.
Okay, so we've covered the old business, new business, and everything else business. Are there any other things anybody on the committee wishes to bring up? If not, will someone entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are done adjourned.